One day, a student approached his professor after class and reminded him that he had mentioned moral law during the lecture, then said, "Last semester, I learned that there isn't any moral law. Every society makes up its own right and wrong, its own good and bad, its own fair and unfair, and each one makes up something different." So the professor answered, "It's a relief to hear you say that because I'm lazy and I hate grading papers. At the end of the semester, I'll be able to save myself from work by giving you an F without looking at your papers at all. Since you don't believe in moral standards like fairness that are true for everyone, I know you won't object." So the student gave the professor a startled glance, then admitted that there are at least some moral standards that are true. It turns out that truth is unavoidable. It is impossible to reject the notion of truth. Those who do deny the objective and absolute nature of truth will contradict themselves at every single turn in life. To quote Elvis, "Truth is like the sun. You can shut it out for a time, but it ain't going away." Let's go back now to that interrogation scene with Pontius Pilate and Jesus, because I think John, who wrote this, is recording this conversation for a very particular and interesting reason. When Pilate asked Jesus, "What is truth?" Jesus did not answer him, you'll recall. He knew that Pilate was not seeking this in good faith. Pilate had more than enough evidence of the innocence of Jesus, but he was a coward, and so he turned Jesus over to be crucified. But what would Jesus have said had he given an answer? In the Gospel of John, Jesus makes the most unusual statement. He actually makes many unusual statements for our ears today, but he makes this one, which is exceptionally unusual, I think. "I am the way and the truth and the life." And I know we've heard this so many times and it sounds so normal to us, but think about what that actually means. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the truth. What is so unusual about this statement? Truth does not apply to persons, places, or things. Truth applies to statements. A truth refers to a statement that corresponds with reality. So we have true statements and false statements. For example, this image is not photoshopped. That is a truth, I guarantee it. The one you saw last week was actually a counterfeit, not true. But this is a true statement. This image is photoshopped. Not photoshopped. Did I say photoshopped the first time? I hope I didn't. This image is not photoshopped. It's real. I can guarantee it. That is true because it is a statement that corresponds with reality. But it makes no sense to say that this bottle is true, or this pulpit is true, or this microphone is true, or even that I am true. While I may say true things, at least most of the time, I would never be so audacious to say that I am the truth. Not only would this be arrogant, but wouldn't even make sense. Things are not true and false. Statements are true. And I better get this off of this. How can we take anything seriously with that picture up there? Okay. Things are not true and false. Statements are true and false. So what could Jesus have possibly meant by saying that he is the truth? After all, Jesus is not a statement, he is a person. This self-designation, I contend, can only be applied to Jesus and no other. And it's no coincidence that it appears in the Gospel of John. The first verse of John's Gospel says, "In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God." We're more familiar with the English translation, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So who is the Logos? It's Jesus. It's Jesus. The term logos is a Greek term that was used by philosophers at the time to refer to the rational principle of the cosmos that binds everything together under a unified whole. Whatever that means, right? They believe that everything finds meaning in the logos. All truth is grounded in the logos. But John, who was familiar with this term, personifies this concept. It's not an abstract principle, John says. It's a person. It's the person of Jesus who brings the world together under a unified whole. He's the very expression of God himself. By him, through him, for him, all things were made and all things hold together. It is Jesus who stands the very center of reality. So when Pilate asks Jesus, what is truth? The answer was, I am. You see, it's not that Jesus will lead you to the truth like a map or like a signpost, as though he's a means to some other end. It's that the truth leads to him and finds its source in him. He is the end itself. All of reality revolves around Christ. So what does this all mean for us? It's a bit abstract, isn't it? Well, have you ever seen these types of buildings before? You know what kind of architecture they call this? Postmodern. Postmodern. They do not have straight walls. They do not have flat roofs. They defy ordinary conventions of traditional architecture. But do you know what is not postmodern about these buildings? The foundation. You can mess with the walls and the windows of a roof all you want, but you mess with the foundation and the whole thing comes crashing down. Build your life on the truth of Jesus as your foundation, and you will be able to withstand any storm that comes your way. Let me begin to wrap this up. The enemy has done everything in his power to destroy the truth. Everything. You name it, he did it. Throughout history, we've seen attacks on the truth from every possible perspective imaginable. Idolatry, rationalism, atheism, tradition, scientism, hedonism, paganism, agnosticism, Gnosticism and agnosticism, materialism, verificationism, you name it, it has existed. But in the 20th century, the enemy got very clever. Instead of attacking the truth, he attacked the very notion of truth itself. You don't need to worry about destroying the truth if you convince people that it doesn't even exist. But no matter how hard he tries to destroy the truth, it always resurfaces. Why? Because the truth is, as Elvis said, unavoidable. You can shut it out for a time, but it's always going to return. You know what else is unavoidable? The truth is unavoidable, but also the truth is unavoidable. Truth with a capital T. Everyone will one day have to face Jesus. He's not going away anytime soon. In the book of Philippians, it says that at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. The beautiful thing, though, is that contrary to postmodernism, the truth doesn't oppress, it doesn't enslave, it doesn't subjugate, it liberates. Jesus said that you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. Truth or dare? Typically, we are asked to submit our sermon titles on Tuesday or Wednesday before we preach. So when I was asked for the title this week, I had nothing. I wasn't even sure exactly what I was going to preach on this week. So in a spur of a moment, I texted, truth or dare? It sounded good at the time. But then moments after I shot off the text, I was thinking to myself, truth or dare? What is that? How am I supposed to make a sermon out of that? So here's my appeal. Choose the truth. Sounds easy enough, but it's not always that easy. Choose the truth. Anything else in life, whether it's comfort, money, even happiness, is a dare not worth taking in life. Your life can only stand, even society itself can only stand on the truth and nothing else. Grounding your life on anything else but the truth that is found in Jesus will always, without exception, fail you. He is the one name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. You may not accept that that is true, that the claim is true, yet, but at least give it the dignity of being true or false, and then go from there. The one thing it cannot be is true for me, but not true for you. If it's true for me, then it's true for you, and it's true for the whole world. And I believe with all of my heart that it is, and it's worth finding out if it is in fact true.